Alright, greetings everyone. I remain my humble self, Adani. Today I would like us to talk about correlation. So we use correlation in SPSS to test for association or relationship between two or more variables that are in continuous form. Like now we have exercise, self-esteem, stress, and IQ levels here. So looking at them, they are in continuous form in the sense that they consist of numbers. They are not categorized like, for instance, gender, ethnic group. All those ones are categorized, or BMI in terms of underweight, normal weight, overweight, and obese. So all those ones are categorized variables. But in this case, what we are talking about is continuous variable, like referring to continuous variables. In this case, exercise, self-esteem, stress, and IQ, they are in continuous form. They consist of numbers. They are not categorized. So when you have these types of variables, you go to correlation in SPSS. So what will now determine the type of correlation you are going to carry out is whether the variables are parametric or non-parametric. Are they normally distributed? If you want to check for association between exercise and IQ, so what you should do first is to know whether the variables are normally distributed. If they are normally distributed, you go for Pearson correlation. If they are not normally distributed, you go for the non-parametric equivalent of Pearson correlation, which is Spearman's correlation. So for us to carry it out now, we'll go to analyze, we go to correlation, we go to bivariate. So here you can see we have Pearson already marked. If you open SPSS, if you want to run the analysis, Pearson will already be marked. Then if the data is not like the data or the variables, the data in each variables are not normally distributed, you then go for the non-parametric equivalent. Look at the non-parametric equivalent of Pearson, which is Spearman. So in this case, let's assume that the data, because in some of the videos, some of my videos, we had already treated how to test for normality using Komogrov, Semenov, Shapiro-Wilk, QQ plot, histogram, and the normality curve. So you have to carry it out, check whether they are normally distributed. If they are normally distributed, you go for Pearson correlation, the two variables. If the two variables are normally distributed, go for Pearson's correlation, Pearson correlation. If they are not normally distributed, the two, go for Spearman correlation. If one is normally distributed and one is not normally distributed, you therefore go for, it is more favorable, running non-parametric analysis, which is a Spearman's correlation. So that is it. In this case now, let's do it assuming that the two are normally distributed. We want to test whether there is an association between exercise level and IQ. So we then move exercise to the reverse and then IQ. Yeah. So we go to option. Oh, we don't have anything to add here. If you like, if you want to check out for the means and standard deviations, you mark it. So bootstrap, nothing, continue. Alright, so having done this now, click OK for SPSS to run the analysis. So we are now in the output window. Looking at it, you check out for the p-value, the significant level. So looking at it here, you can see that the p-value, which is the significant level, it is less than 0.05. The p-value is less than 0.05, telling you that there is a significant association between exercise and IQ. So because look at the IQ, look at exercise, the association, there is a significant association between exercise and IQ. And the association is a positive one, because looking at the strength of association, there is the Pearson correlation coefficient. It is 0.532. so there is no negative sign, telling you that this is a positive correlation of moderate strength, positive correlation of moderate strength, because this is 0.532. This is a moderate correlation between exercise and IQ. So that is it. Then in the case of if you want to carry out the non-parametric equivalent, which is Spearman's correlation, you come to analyze, come to correlation, then to bivariate. Okay, so here now you unmark Pearson and then mark Spearman correlation, then you click OK. So SPSS has run the analysis again and output window. This is the non-parametric correlation, assuming that after testing for the normality, both exercise and IQ were not normally distributed, or maybe one was normally distributed and one wasn't normally distributed. We run this non-parametric equivalent of Pearson correlation, which is Spearman's correlation. So here is the output. So the p-value is 0.03, which is less than 0.05, telling you that there is a significant association between exercise and IQ. So looking at the strength, the coefficient of Pearson correlation, that is the Pearson correlation coefficient, R, is 0.531, which is still of moderate strength. So the association between IQ and exercise is of moderate strength. So in this particular data, so that is it. So concerning correlation, the major thing, the first step is just to test for the normality, to know whether your data are they normally distributed. If they are normally distributed, the normality test will determine the appropriate correlation test that you will carry out. So if they are normally distributed, you go for Pearson correlation. If they are not normally distributed, you go for Spearman's correlation. So that is all about correlation. Thanks for listening.